So, how do we decide who is in charge? I mean, it's a fundamental question that every single group of people has to answer. And throughout all of human history, the answers have really fallen into two very, very different camps. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right now. When you really get down to it, this is all about power. Where does it come from? Does it flow down from one person at the very top? Or is it something that's shared by everybody? Just that one question creates two completely different ways of organizing society. Let's start with the one you're probably most familiar with. All right, first up, we've got the model that we can all picture in our heads, the power pyramid. This is that classic top-down structure you see in, well, pretty much everything, from ancient empires all the way to modern companies. So in a centralized state, all the power is concentrated in one spot. You can almost think of it like a single brain for the whole country. All the big decisions, all the laws, all the authority, it's all coming from one central hub, like a national government in a capital city. And you can see that flow perfectly here. Authority starts way up at the peak, with a king or a president, and then it just cascades down. It goes through top officials, then to local leaders, and finally, all the way down to the people. Every last bit of power is handed down from that single point at the top. Okay, but what happens if you just knock the top off that pyramid? What if there's no single ruler at all? Well, that brings us to a completely different and frankly fascinating model, the headless society. It kind of messes with your head, right? Our brains are so used to the idea of a president, a prime minister, a CEO. I mean, how could anything possibly get done without one person calling the shots? Well, for a huge chunk of human history, it did. The official term for this is acephalos. It comes straight from the Greek for, you guessed it, without a head. And these are societies that get along just fine without a king or queen or any kind of formal central government. So how on earth does anything get done? Well, instead of being bottled up at the top, power is spread out, usually among families or clans. Big decisions aren't just handed down. Nope, they're talked about and negotiated until pretty much everyone agrees. And you don't have police keeping order. Instead, it's the customs and traditions that everyone in the community just knows and respects. And this is where we get this absolutely brilliant analogy. A centralized state is like one giant yam tuber. All the power, all the nutrients, it's all in one massive thing. But a headless or acephalous society, that's more like a whole field of yam plants. Each one is its own thing, but they're all interconnected through their roots in the soil, in the community. And power isn't held by one person, it's shared across the entire network. Okay, so let's put these two models head to head. It really boils down to a clash between two powerful images. You've got the rigid top-down pyramid on one side and the flexible, interconnected web on the other. This is really the key breakdown. On one side, you've got the pyramid. Power is concentrated with a single ruler. Decisions are commands, and order comes from formal laws and punishments. But on the other side, you've got the web. Power is spread out among the group. Decisions are made by talking it out, and order is maintained through shared customs. One is all about command and control. The other is about community and negotiation. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This is all really interesting as anthropology, ancient history, right? But these ideas are way more relevant to our lives today than you might think. So is a follow society purely a thing of the past? The answer is a hard no. Absolutely not. While most of us live in centralized states, the basic ideas of that headless, non-centralized model are actually all around us, operating right under our noses every single day. Just think about it. That neighborhood association that spends hours arguing over a new park, that's consensus-based decision-making in action. What about huge open-source projects like Linux, built by this massive global community with no CEO in sight? That's a classic dispersed network. Even online forums where the community itself enforces the rules, they are all tapping into these ancient principles. These are modern headless systems, and they are literally everywhere. So here's the big takeaway. While we're also used to looking up the pyramid to see where power comes from, it is so important to remember that real, lasting influence can also grow from the ground up, through the connections between all of us. Power doesn't have to command from above. Sometimes it grows from the roots.